to our panel on releasing games on Steam. Could you guys introduce yourselves?
My name's Nick. I'm with Soulareus, which is basically just me. I make Hardlander.
I'm James. I'm with Kingdom. In November, we released 5 Guardians of David on Steam, and we're about to release spin-off / sequel to that, Champions of Canaan, on Steam in about 2 weeks. Yeah, we just put the website up yesterday, so hopefully you guys will get a chance to check it out. We didn't even know it was going live until we got the email from our community guys. So.
My name's John. I'm with Kaio Interactive. We just launched Leave the Nest on Steam in May, and yeah, that was a VR project that we put up there, and it's done quite well.
Thank you. So how this is going to work is we'll be taking...
We got one more.
Yeah, one more.
You just joined us.
Hi, Ryan.
Would you
I just found out. Hi, I'm Ryan. Our team released a game called That Dragon Cancer on Steam in January.
Awesome. So we're going to be taking questions from you guys. So we could just have it raise your hands and we'll go one by one. And you could direct your questions to any of the panelists. Over here.
What is Steam? In a nutshell.
Who wants to answer that?
Steam is the biggest PC distribution platform. It's run by Valve, Half-Life, Team Fortress, and it's pretty much where you need to be if you want to sell PC games right now. There's a few other distribution platforms, but Steam is by far the biggest.
Over here.
And this is to everyone, and I love opinions. I'm about a year away from a finished product, or a little bit about half a year away from a finished product. How far out did you guys try to get greenlit before cause how much did you have to show? What was the necessary, should I wait until it's basically ready, or should I start as early as possible type of thing, in your opinion?
Well, I'll just say we did not go through Greenlight, and we were curious about some of you guys. What is the requirement? We basically emailed Valve and said, we have a game, and they said, here's your Steam key. So we're curious what the Greenlight process is still used for, or how much people are still using that for. But if you guys have been greenlit, maybe you can talk about that.
We weren't greenlit either, so.
We were not greenlit either. And so I think that's maybe a sign that we also emailed and they said you don't have to go through it. So I think there's probably a mix of getting a Steam contact and showing a good product, and that might shortcut the process.
Yeah. I think one of the big features of Greenlight is the community building, and that's what Steam push. As being the main benefit of Greenlight. You get this ramp up to your go live time when you've finally got a product ready, but all the time you can start building community and start building hype about your game and use it as a publicity channel.
I lost my train of thought, so hi there again.
Should we go to the next question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna actually.
We can keep it.
Oh, you can go ahead. I was just gonna say, at Steam Dev Days, which is Valve's big conference they have for Steam developers. Yeah. So at Steam Dev Days, which was the conference that Valve had for Steam developers, as part of Gabe Newell's, he's the president of Valve, right? During his keynote speech, he addressed Greenlight, and he said he didn't really like it. So. Just be aware. They all said, they didn't go through Greenlight. I have 2 games on Steam. Neither went through Greenlight. Valve doesn't seem to like Greenlight. So just, I guess, be aware. It is, maybe fraught with peril in terms of its success in getting you onto Steam. But I think, like you're saying, for community building, obviously there's a lot of people that, do look at Greenlight, and it can help build a community especially if you do a Kickstarter, you can kind of tie those together, which is common. So.
I would also say, in terms of Christian games on Steam, are kind of fraught with landmines too, just from the community response. So be aware that as you're trying to build community on the Steam forums, they can be very vile. So just very antagonistic towards anything that smells of faith.
Can I just to tag on that? Is it the thought that Greenlight might actually keep you off of Steam if you don't do well on Greenlight?
Depending on how you're marketing it.
Rather than
You know, like if you're saying this is the best Christian RPG ever, then it depends. You know, do you have a big enough niche on Steam that's going to like what you've done? But I'm saying, like, in general, I've seen a lot of. It's a weird balance, right? Because you'll find people that, even depending on how you handle it, you'll find people not of faith defending you, and like saying that you have every right to be there. But then you have others that are just kind of, you know. So you have to be able to weather the PR nightmare that is the Steam community, and weigh whether or not that's a good idea. And I think maybe some other people that have gone through Greenlight can tell us if that's true or not in their experience. So.
I was going to ask if you just kind of generally go through the process of submitting a game for Steam from start to finish, and how I'm getting some new information that apparently Greenlight is not necessarily a requirement to get on there. Apparently, you guys have already bypassed it in the past with David, for example, or Five. So, how much of a detriment or help is Greenlight in that process, and just simply what can one expect on a general run from start to finish, assuming that they successfully get onto Steam?
Soma and Vision's here to speak to that.
Soma was going to be here. There's no Chrissy was here.
Oh, Laurene is back.
Laurene can speak to that.
I could actually speak to that.
Why don't you come on up front? You want to join us?
Yeah, come on, we want you up here.
You're Greenlight. You're the only Greenlight here.
Do you have a green light panel? I am the only one here?
It's a Steam panel, not a green light.
Oh, well, it's green light now.
Congratulations on
I'm
that.
probably going to hit something on this device and turn it off. Assume all the buttons are evil. Okay. So my experience with Greenlight, the advantage to going Greenlight is it helps build some of your community. It builds some marketing. It gives you an opportunity to interact with the players before you actually get your game on there. So they like, oh wow, here's this game I never heard of, and it's going to be here soon. It builds a little bit of hype.
Now, what about just the process in general? It's like I have a game that's ready to be put out there. I just need a platform such as Steam. I submit my game, and what can I expect? What do I need to do?
Some of that's under NDA, and I'm not allowed to talk about that. I actually can't, or I could lose my green light status. But you do need a business established, and you have to have a lot of paperwork.
So you can't go and just like,
You will have to register your business as...
Can do as an individual.
Yeah, but it has to be, you still have to have the paperwork, so...
It's on the front page is you pay $100.
And pay you $100.
You buy the Steam Greenlight.
All right. Well, I registered as a business because I already had a business. So that's the side that I know. I can't speak to registering as a solo person. I don't have that experience.
okay.
Everything else is like behind that wall, unfortunately.
Right.
How's your community engagement?
I avoid the community as much as possible. I have another friend here who can attest to my reasons why for that. Yeah, they can be both, as you say, you can have atheists defending you and Christians slamming you at the same time. You're like, what? Okay, never mind. I'm just going to go back making my game now. I'll let you know when it's done. So that's just kind of how that works. So.
Over here.
Question. What price did you guys put your game at and why?
Me? All right, I guess. We set it at 30 because it's been 30 for a while now, and that seemed to be a good balance point. We've tried several different price points. We will not make it free because setting a download fee helps reduce the number of trolls that will harass our other players. I am making an MMO. And if it's a free Christian MMO, there will be more trolls than players. And we don't want that. We want a safe environment for our players to actually have fun and enjoy the games. So by setting it at $30, Steam takes a cut. That still leaves a good boundary to prevent them.
Since that's an MMO, are you planning subscription fee then?
Not subscription. We're going to try and implement a micro-purchase structure. Originally, we were considering subscription. We're going to try micro-purchase first and see how it goes. It works for some people. It depends on your player base. So, I don't know.
We're setting our price at $14.99, and the reason is then you can still make money off sales, and mostly people are going to buy games on sales. That's all I do. The way we came up with that number is by showing the game at different conferences and then setting up a Google Docs. I forget what they're called. You can set up like radio buttons and sliders and ask people what they would pay for it. So we just took all of that and then averaged it and then, took a couple bucks off.
What did we start at, Eric?
29.
We started at 29. We're at 19.99 now. We started up there. We did a lot of market analysis of other games, Grim Dawn and Path of Exile and stuff that are in similar genres as us, similar play times, quality level. And, like he said, we wanted to step it down for sales. You have to be careful not to go too low too quick on Steam, or, it's harder to go back up from if you lower your price too much. So you want to watch those sales and try to get your price down during the sales. Bundles are becoming more important as well outside of Steam. So, price point's a thing we're constantly reassessing.
We looked at, because we were launching a VR title and like VR is embryonic, we looked at the other games, the other few hundred games that were out there, at the kind of price point we were thinking of. There was because it's such a new platform, there wasn't much to choose on. So we kind of like looked at what was there and rated our game in comparison and just picked that price. It was very experimental, the project, so we put it at $10. Unfortunately, we missed the Steam. We were too close to the summer sale to get in on the summer sale, so we couldn't jump on that. But yeah, it's with the new platform, it's kind of tricky to try and engage it right.
What's the new platform?
VR, the HTC Vive. So we looked around. There's a big range of games. That's from free, which are kind of like your Flappy Birds, the poor Flappy Birds, not the nice ones like we did. But there's the free ones which people have like spent a weekend on or something like that, and then there are some which are like hover junkers at, I think, $29, and that's done in Unity as well. But they've put a lot of time. I think they put like a year and a half effort into that. So it's quite a big project. So there's a big range of prices on Steam just for the Vive at the moment, and of course with the Rift coming on board as well.
You said you're doing VRs. What glasses are you supporting? Does it matter?
At the moment we're on the HTC Vive, which is the one linked to Steam and Valve. We've also enabled the Rift, but we're not advertising that because we haven't changed the art yet to have the Rift controllers. But we're also looking at the other headsets that are coming out, like the Razer Turtle Beach. Which one? OSVR, yeah. And possibly the Gear. Google Cardboard's a bit hard because there's no unified controller for Android phones.
But Google just announced a new headset.
But there's Daydream, which is supposed to have a controller. But at the moment, the dev kits for Daydream are just basically a phone with a piece of paper on top of it for the controller.
Like Samsung has the Gear and the...
Yeah, Samsung have the Gear. But yeah, so Steam's a tricky one to price on, I think, because there are so many large companies who don't need to make a profit or a significant profit. They can survive on just sheer numbers, so they can price it low. And then there's a whole range.
Yeah. We worked on our title for 3 years. Ours was $14.99. We looked at other narrative-based 2-hour, 3-hour experiences, and we found that most of them were in the 10 to 15 range. Although now we see that even that feels overpriced to people. And so we kind of figured that people would want what we were making because it was, they're not looking for a deal. But we found that wasn't true. People are still looking for a deal. And so we find that when we go on sale, the 40% range seems to give us a little bit of a spike for a week. So you have to be aware that Steam goes on sale a lot, and there's a lot of downward pressure to get into the sales because that's when most people buy. And there's this thing on Steam where most people buy piles of games that they never play. And so there's this mentality of buying everything on fire sale. And so it's really hard as an indie because you're feeling that downward pressure just like in mobile. There's kind of like this race to the bottom. There's this race to 99 cents or free. And so like that's really hard to maintain, especially when you have a small studio. So it's really a balance of finding what they value and, you know, and being okay with that. Like you kind of have to be okay with people being really not nice that you're charging for your game. So.
On that note, how do you guys combat or address the issue of where we had the fit where all of us screw up with the customary, you had the cartridge or the disc, and so we're used to paying $30, $40, $60, and on occasion $70 for our games. Now we have the online platform, and as you said, we have these 99-cent games, which is great for the consumer. And you pay $1, you have hopefully what's a great game, and if it's not, well, you didn't put out too much money. But at the same time, you have a game that's also hopefully very well made, and you put in a lot of resources, but you're getting $1 a pop.
Mm-hmm.
How do you address this mentality that all these people are only willing to shell out such minimal amount of change for what could very well be a worthy game of being of charging more for it?
I feel like you have to resist the urge to go to a bundle right away. Because as soon as you go to a bundle, then you're a dollar game, you know. But what's hard though is that if you have financial pressure, you kind of have to set yourself up not to expect. I mean, either you're going to hit and you're going to be able to have revenue, or you're not. And I mean, still on Steam, I mean, you might not have a hit, but you might sell 10, 15 copies a day, and that's an income for somebody. You know, so like you have to kind of set your expectations. Like even moderate selling can support a resource. So like if you can put yourself in a position where you can hold on to a reasonable premium price and then wait for those sales, wait for the bundle until 6 months, a year in, then I feel like you can have a little bit of a, like they were saying, like if once you go on sale, you know, you can't bring the price back up. And they don't let you go on sale all the time. There's limits to how often you can put yourself on sale, so you have to also be aware of that and consider, like they don't always tell you when the Steam sales are starting, so kind of get an idea of when that is so that when you release it, if you want to be able to go on sale, you've released it with enough lead time to be allowed to.
I guess what I wanted to find out, like, let's say you release your game, say, I feel my game is worth $15, $20, $30. Where do you find the motivation to justify this price when you do come up against people saying, I'm not paying that?
And say, then don't pay it. You have to be willing to charge for your game, and you have to be willing to stand by it and not apologize for it. And that's a really hard thing.
Just speculation. I mean, try to answer this question. Isn't a lot of it word of mouth and marketing too? I mean, if people perceive and are hearing that your game is a great game, then you're not going to have to drop the price. Yeah. So, I mean, there's still going to be people that are like, I'm only buying the cheap stuff, I'm only buying it on sale. But if you've got word of mouth and you've got a quality product, I would think you could. Was that true? I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is visibility. As soon as you drop off the main page, then you see a drop, no matter what. And that happens on every store. It's not just Steam, it's going to be the App Store, it's going to be wherever you are. When you lose that front page visibility, you're going to see sales drop. And there's no avoiding that unless you plan for it somehow.
Well,
There's a question.
to that, but I'll let you go ahead. 'Cause you got the
Well, I was just going to say one more thing for that, though, is that nobody knows about your game. And, no matter how much press you get, nobody knows about your game. And so, I think there is this aspect of, Steam is very valuable for that. And so, I think pricing it right and you can like promote it within the store. You get a certain amount of visibility that you can spend, and making people aware of that will definitely help. I mean, so all of those things together, I don't think you can just say, depend on it, my game's amazing, because there's thousands of amazing games out there. So.
But if my address to that would be, like, Edwin McMillan, before he was even wealthy, was like, take my games. You know, I want people to play my games. You know, and so he said, and the flip side is, would you rather sell 1 million copies at $1, or like, man, I'm sticking at 20 and sell 500 copies? I mean, you know, and I know that's crazy out there numbers. It's not right at all. But there is a certain point where it's like, if that accessibility at a slightly lower rate increases that much more, it's not that your game is not worth $15. My game is worth $50,000 to me. But it's how much can I get sales to base on that? I'd rather have more people paying less than less people paying more to call it a premium game. And I don't know how to do that because I've never gotten to that point.
Personally, I like to leave the game on Steam at its good premium price. You can bundle it and sell 20,000 copies in a week by bundling it with another bundle that's got 5 other games in it or whatever, and to get those numbers up. That's kind of what we're trying to do right now. And then, you know, we also have this Champions game coming out. We're going to price that at $4.99 instead of $19.99, in the hopes that will also drive traffic back to the main game, Guardians, which is a much longer single-player experience. So we're trying different strategies like that without lowering that premium price of Guardians, because I feel like once we go there, there's no coming back.
I was going to say one person gave us advice. We were asking a lot of people what we should price the game at, and they just said, well, who do you want to buy your game? And I think Laurene has a really good strategy. She wants certain types of people to buy the game, and the price kind of dictates that. So if you're comfortable with your niche and being valuable to your niche, and even if that's a small niche or a big niche, you know, whatever it is, that's going to do better, because the other thing you have to consider is that Steam, a lot of your reputation is based on your rating. And so if you drop so low that anybody can buy it, they control you. And in fact, if you drop it too low that they buy it and refund it, they can also troll you. So like Steam has a new refund policy that if you play it less than 2 hours, you can refund it. Well, our game can be played in less than 2 hours. So some people would even return it after playing it because they just didn't like it, or it just didn't meet an expectation. So like, if you price it too low, then you're going to get some of that too. And so I think there's this constant balance between your Steam community and what they think of it, and the type of people you want to buy it, and the people that are willing to pay it and then like it are going to rate you really well. And so then your positive versus negative Steam reviews will reflect that.
But going on that, if they buy it and then sell it back, I mean, I would pay $30. If I really wanted to troll someone, I'd pay $30 and then get my money back just to troll them. Yeah. I mean, you know, so I pay $100. So like, I have $3,000. I don't care. I'm getting my back. I mean, so how does that prevent trolling?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Question,
Yeah.
The percentage is low though.
Okay.
I wanted to branch off of that because I was really curious about. I like following all you guys on Steam Spy, so like seeing like what I can find out from there. But like, how do you process returns? For those of you who have sold, like, what's your internal process like? How do you deal with that, like, spiritually and emotionally and all those things?
Just don't read it.
Yeah.
I tried reading it once and then I stopped.
If it's civil, then I don't see a problem with responding and opening a communication channel with somebody who's trolling you, or someone got a problem with the game, because you never know, you might be able to convert them into a positive review. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there is a line that you just don't cross, because they're just out to get you, they're out to slander you, whatever. But generally, I mean, if it's a civil and constructive review that's negative, you take that, you open that channel. And we've had a couple of instances where we've actually turned a reviewer around their opinion.
Yeah, we've had similar things where people will bring up a legitimate bug or something, and we'll have one of our programmers respond to them and fix that, and that's helped. But like some of these guys have said, you will get some of the weirdest illogical arguments about your game, especially if it's biblical, that basically is a rant against the Bible and really has nothing to do with your game, and that kind of stuff. I don't know what better advice to give you than just laugh at it and ignore it. Yeah.
So
you know, problem with the Bible. What did you think about
Yeah.
the game?
In my thing I'm doing tomorrow on the postmortem, I'm going to quote some of those. They're just hilarious to read.
And just sticking strictly to the STEAM community, during my Greenlight campaign, there was one person who started out with kind of an aggressive criticism, like, you didn't talk about this, and you didn't talk about that. But you know, when I read it critically, I'm like, okay, so the things he's saying, I actually could legitimately address and explain his concerns, and I ended up with, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 pages of comments and a dialogue back and forth about, this is what we're doing in the game, this is what's happening, this is what is working, this is what isn't working. And at the end, he thanked me, and he said he was looking forward to playing. So sometimes it can be positive. If they just reach out and go, well, I went to church once and my dad used to do this and blah, 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 and that, and everybody at church is evil, then you just ignore them and don't talk about it. So, yeah. Back.
Well, and other people can see, so if someone comments, you can respond.
Right, exactly.
Other people can see what I found, just in general, doing message boards for a long time. Even if you're not going to change the guy's mind, having a rational response and explaining it, the lurkers that are just reading, you can win a lot of people over there.
Right.
So don't just think that you're trying to,
Right.
you know,
And that was exactly why I answered him,
yeah, or-
because his comments,
I mean, that person maybe, he's always gonna be a skeptic, but you might impress 50 other people who are watching.
right, or even if it's only 5, right?
Yeah.
Because his comments were legitimate comments. They were like, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't answer those questions, or I did sort of leave that. I wasn't really clear in my original post, and so I answered it, and it made it possible for 20 other people to get their questions answered, and now I don't have to answer those questions again. So, yeah. Do you want to say anything?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We have any other questions?
So I was just kind of curious about how maybe you're under NDA and you can only talk in generalizations, but you see a lot of these bundles where games are priced at either bundles are priced at really, really low price points, or even sometimes games on Steam that'll drop to 25 cents or something ridiculous. And sometimes you'll see free giveaways, or you'll see various things. And I'm curious, what's the system on the backside for deciding, like, this price point is okay? And I'm assuming that even at 25 cents, there's some trickle of revenue that comes back. Is there some place where I was kind of surprised when I saw some of those, like, how is Steam not just you hit the bottom and the base price is already taken away and you don't have anything left? How does that work in terms of giving out key codes and working with bundles and those kind of things?
Keys are free. So if you need to be able to sell your game on Humble Bundle, like the Humble Store or your widget, you can just ask for keys and they'll give them to you. So those don't cost anything. It's only the revenue that comes through the store that they take a cut of. So but there's a cost to that. And that is that unless you're already a Steam user, it's really hard to redeem a Steam key. Because you not only have to find the software, you have to sign up for the account, you have to install the software, then you have to log in, then you have to find the button to activate your code. Then you have to, and so a lot of times we got some feedback where somebody wrote us like, hey, we really wanted to support you, but honestly the Steam thing almost stopped us in our tracks because I tried really hard to do it. And we like the convenience of it because keys are really nice to be able to give out, and we can control the downloads. Steam has an amazing back end for updating your game. So they do delta changes. So you upload a new build and it will only download the deltas. So, and it's really high compression. So they just have a really nice system for controlling versioning. But you kind of have to weigh that against the fact that they'll give you a Steam key because they want Steam users. But the cost to acquire a Steam user is really high because they have to be educated all the way through. Mm-hmm. So if you don't think that your core gamers are Steam users, then you need to consider that.
Yeah, that's what I was
To
going to
get
say.
a contrast to that if possible.
You also have to watch out if you give out a lot of the Steam keys. There's a big problem with people stealing those. So, if you get 20,000 keys from Steam and give them to a bundle, you really need to make sure that bundle is going to give back the unused Steam keys, or that they'll disappear into the ether and somebody's reselling them somewhere. If you type 5 Guardians of David right now on Google, you'll get probably 10 different sites saying free download, this, that, and the other, and most of them are not legit. Most of them are some kind of weird redirect or even some sort of malware, but it's a problem. You got to watch out, how many keys you throw out there in the world.
So real quick, I want to say one reason to give away free keys, at least for an MMO, I have no idea about single player games, is if you get one person in there, they're going to go bring their friend, theoretically, if they like the game. And so you want to get more players in. But I wanted to give a contrast because I had something really interesting. I had at least 2 people tell me they're so excited that Visions is finally going to be released on Steam so they can play. It was like, until it's on Steam, it's not really done. And I thought I'm like, it's been available for download for a year. But to them, it's not really available yet until it's on Steam. So that was just kind of an interesting contrast.
Kind of like those of us who are Nintendo only and we're waiting for all these other awesome games to come out. Come on!
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. you gotta roll.
Either way.
I was going to continue on that. So you mentioned in passing the piece that I was really curious about. So you mentioned giving out 20,000 keys or something to a bundle. So is that how it's generally done? They say, we'll pay you X for X number of keys? Exactly. Or is it, we'll pay you per key or something like that?
Yeah, it's usually like, hey, we want to do this bundle. We expect it to sell, between 20 and 30,000, for example. So give us 20,000 keys, and we'll give you this much up front and this much of the back end, percentage-wise, whatever the deal is. And it seems to be pretty specific to whatever bundle you're dealing with. And yeah, you just hand over the 20,000 keys, and then when the sale's over, you start bugging them. Where's the rest of the keys that didn't get sold, and hope they get back to you. And so far, we've had decent luck, and they've gotten back to us, and here's the results of the sale, and here's the unused keys. But it is a little harrowing and sort of worrisome, when you have 10,000 extra keys out there and you're wondering if they're going to disappear off the map or not. And there's a ton of bundles out there, so, you want to watch out. And I know this isn't about bundles, but it is kind of related because the Steam key is what makes everything different now. It's just a number, and it floats around on the internet, and people can do whatever they want with it once it's out there, so.
Are there some sites you want to badmouth the bundlers? That we should...
So far, we haven't had any bad experiences. We've only been in 2 bundles, I think, so far, and one of them hasn't even gone off yet. So, and the first one went decently well. We sold a bunch of copies through the bundle, and it was a good bundle. I think it was what was this name of the bundle we did? No, I mean the site that did those. Groupies, yeah, Groupies, and that seems like a decent bundle. Of course, you've got like Humble Bundle is a big one, and we haven't been able to get on that yet. I think their standards are really high. I'm not sure if it's player base that they're looking for or a certain critical reception. I'm just not sure yet, and we continually reach out to them, but that's a well-respected one that you can be pretty sure won't rip off your Steam keys, but there are a lot of other requests you'll get in email, hey, we're doing a bundle, send us a bunch of keys, and we'll try to vet them, and it's difficult. Their websites are weird.
Over here first. Oh, wait, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in relation to that, it's really good to go to these conferences, like to go to the game expos, if you want to get your game out there, because you will meet the people from Humble. You'll meet the people from Steam. You'll meet the people from these, and building those relationships is your quickest way to get an answer. So it's not always like a walled garden that's impenetrable, but you have to kind of go out to them and meet them. And we found, at least, that for us it was easier to get those responses back in those relationships with Humble, relationships with Steam, because of that. And I've heard by reputation that Humble's really good at anti-fraud stuff, because there's a lot of scams where people will take credit cards and buy a bunch of bundles and then charge back and then resell those keys. And so it's not only will the bundle walk away with the keys, but also the amount of fraud that's happening during the bundle sales.
So just in general, and and James, you kind of lightly touched on this, DRM. Your thoughts on DRM? I'm curious on all of you, and I'm not sure how Steam handles that.
So, Steam is its own DRM system, basically. So, if you buy a game on Steam, you can't just copy it over to your friend's machine or anything. It's pretty integrated into the system. But we actually did a standalone version of 5, and you can buy that on our website. Looking back, I don't know that it's really worth it. The number of sales that come from the website compared to Steam is just not really worth the effort that we put into for that, because we built our own DRM for that, where we generate our own key and everything, and it's really a big debate. My tech director would say we don't want to do the DRM anymore. It's not worth it. I'm on the fence about it. I personally don't like the idea, of course, of somebody buying our game and then copying it and just distributing it at will. But with the sites like Good Old Games, for example, that's DRM free, and so every game on there, you can do that. So consumers really like DRM free. I will say that. So it's a hard debate.
Over here. I was gonna say, I can't remember who asked about bad sites for bundles. For my game Waveform, we released on Steam in 2012, and then at some point we had a bundle with Gamersgate, like not that small a site. They still haven't paid me from a bundle I was in 2012. So Humble's good though. I've been Humble a couple times. They're good, but yeah, Gamersgate. I don't know if that's like universal. I'm just saying, so sometimes.
That'd probably be a cool thing to start, is like a good bundles, bad bundles.
So you're saying gamers? You're not talking about the hashtag, right?
No.
Okay, they're awful.
Yeah, it's like Steam, but
they don't like you.
It's
the difference between Gamergate and Gamersgate.
Okay,
Yeah, two very different things.
Yeah. Okay, because I had no clue what you're talking about.
You wanted to bash in a nice Christian way. I didn't know.
I will say we liked being in that bundle we were in. It was cool. A lot of cool players got on board that probably would not have, just because it's part of a bundle. I did want to make sure that the games we're bundled with were decent games, so you'll want to check that out. Or try. And a lot of times they won't give you that information up front, but if you try to push them and prod them, they might give you those, and it's worth looking at, because you don't want to have your, $15.99, $20 game bundled with a bunch of negatively reviewed Steam games and stuff like that. It's just bad perception, probably.
One other thing about bundles and going on Steam is sometimes you can if you know other people and your games are similar, like you were saying, you can talk to Valve and they can put together cool bundles. One thing we did was a Canadian indie developer bundle. So we talked to Valve and said, hey, there's a bunch of Canadian indie games. Can we do a bundle? And they really liked it, and we got kind of cool billing on that. And so you can do some so we're talking about what price to do. There's also what you can do with Valve and other developers to kind of other options.
Seriously, Ryan.
Okay, all right.
Volunteer.
Here you go, sir.
Well, I'm already done that bit, but yeah.
So Steam has some optional things that you can add to this, I think there's Steam achievements and Steam trading cards. Any experiences with that? Is it worth it? I mean, I guess a general question about that.
Yeah, we have both of those in our game, and they're neat. As far as worth it, I'm not sure. It's hard to pinpoint whether or not that's a good thing for any particular player, or whether or not it turned someone onto the game or not.
Well, in terms of worth it, I don't know if this reads my mind, but how much effort is it? Is it
not that
amount of work to add it, and what is it like?
The trading cards are pretty easy. It's just a graphic, really, and they have their parameters, and you put that together. The achievements are easy on the Steam side, but your game has to be able to deal with the achievements. So depending on how your game's set up, you need to have all that.
What kind of protocol is it to connect? Can you say that is like a TPC?
I have no idea.
I mean,
Yeah.
Or the API? How does it?
So Steam's API is very easy to use. Really, you just say Steam.unlockachievement, and it's that easy.
Okay, so it's like a network connection.
Well, I mean,
Extracted via the SDK.
yeah, that's right. They just do it's all behind the scenes in their thing. So you just call one function, they do the rest. And even if you're offline, right? Because you can go Steam offline mode, and you say unlock achievement, and the next time the person connects to Steam, it'll automatically do everything as if they were
I
online.
mean, like, that's where I'm not quite getting, where is it in the, let's say you're using an engine
Yeah.
that hasn't worked with Steam yet.
Right.
What do you do? Like if I can call out a network call.
Yeah.
Even if it's localhost.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know about all engines, I know because, like, we wrote our own C++, so there's a Steam, like, API DLL you include, and then, yeah, you can just call Steam functions from your C++ code. But, I mean, maybe other people can talk about other engines, I don't know.
No, we're just Unity, so we found a plugin that integrated.
Yeah, there's a if you're on Unity, there's a Unity wrapper for the Steam SDK. It's all in C#, and it pretty much mirrors the C++ libraries.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mainly worked on it from the design side on the achievements, so I can't really speak to the code side.
I haven't implemented anything yet, so I can't talk to that.
One thing I was going to say about the trading cards is, like, for Citizens of Earth, we did trading cards. Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so for Citizens of Earth, we released trading cards like a while after release, as sort of a way to like get people, to remember the game. Hey, remember this game? Check out, now you can collect, trading cards and that kind of thing. And that was like very intentional from like our publisher Atlas. They said like, we could have done it before, like for launch, but they said no, we're gonna wait and very intentionally release it when we want, sort of like a awareness kind of bump. And now people can collect trading cards. So yeah.
Every time you.
I don't. No, not really. I mean, well, mainly because I wasn't really looking for it, but yeah. So I don't know.
Every time you do a release, you also get a chance to promote, to do a visibility round. So it's good to plan accordingly to that, because that visibility round gets you in front of a bunch of people for a small amount of time.
What does that mean, a visibility round?
You get like tokens for a visibility round, and like you can spend them when you do an update, and then that allows you to like you'll get bumped onto some of the. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure how much I can say, but about specifics, but.
Okay.
One thing about the trading cards is you can't add them later. So I think that's something I found out. You can't go back later and say, we want to add some new trading cards to the game. You have to add them when you ship.
What, didn't you just say that you did?
No, yeah, we added them later.
Trading cards?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's all in the metadata.
Okay.
It's not part of the app, yeah.
So I think what he's saying is you have to add them all at the same time.
Oh, maybe the same time.
It's something weird like that.
We did that, well after launch, yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
I'm wondering about Chris's experiences on Steam. He hasn't spoken yet.
The short answer is like we got Greenland, we've installed the software, but we haven't launched yet. So
Tell us how you got this software installed, because that's what I'm wanting to know.
so in short, like it's kind of like what you said, there's a Unity wrapper, and so it was actually really easy peasy. The system we had already done like achievements and leaderboards as part of the Xbox, and so those were already kind of in the system and ready. And then just instead of going Xbox achievements, Steam achievements, so it was really remarkably easy. Setting them up on the website is, uploading graphics. So it was all on the web, and it was probably done in about 2 hours, including new images. So I found that the Steam SDK compared to like the Xbox SDK was about maybe 1.9 million better. Which is not to say that I had a bad experience with Xbox. I don't want to give that wrong impression. It was just that the Steam tool was so much more mature. And so it's every little thing that they've thought of. They've done a really, really good job. So we found integration super easy.
Okay, cool.
If I could, I would like to know you 5 guys that didn't go through Greenlight. Who do you, don't give the name necessarily, but how do you find the contact? Who do you just, hey, email somebody, here's an email on Steam, or did you go through a channel to find someone to talk? That's all.
Basically, I think on Steam, the website that's publicly accessible, there is an email process you go through, and that's publicly accessible information. You can email them, and then you open dialogue with whoever responds, basically.
And like I said, go to the conferences. Because once you start showing and you get a reputation and you meet people, then I asked for an intro from somebody, and they were able to pass me through. So it's just kind of those things where I think you have to get what you want to do with a project, and there's a certain amount of legitimacy that comes with that, right? It's like what you're getting about, and once they see you at the conferences, they know that you're putting a certain amount of skin in the game.
So yeah, when I released Waveform in 2012, like Greenlight didn't exist. So for that one, I just had like a friend of mine knew one of their release coordinators or whatever, and that was like the only way you could do it kind of back then. So once we had that relationship, then now we've kind of continued it for our other games. But yeah.
You're the only one that said anything that's right.
Pretty much the same deal for us. I knew some guy that works at Valve and asked him for an intro to the Steam representative, and he did that. But I don't think it's that difficult from what I'm hearing. It's just get out there and email them, and if you have a product.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I'll ask one. What, if anything, not that you can actually affect this, but what, if anything, would you change about Steam? How would you make the process different, or how would you make it better based upon your experiences? Being on the developer end as opposed to the consumer end.
I can say the review system is pretty broken. The ability for a player to get in there and play for 30 minutes or whatever and review a 50-hour video game and give it a negative review is pretty frustrating.
It's really good.
If there's anything about Steam that's frustrating to me, it's the review system probably. But that being said, how can Valve police millions of reviews every day to make sure everyone is legit and really a proper review of the game? So it's kind of a bad thing.
I think it's just, I wouldn't really change anything about it because Steam is what it is. I mean, it's a very vibrant, very large community of certain types of gamers. And I just think it's, so if you have a game that will sell well there, put it there. It's just, if you have something that you don't think people are going to like, then do that. So, it's really great once you, it's a great opportunity. So I wouldn't, but I wouldn't know if I change it. I just think you just need to know who your audience is and who you want to sell your game to. So.
Yeah, most of the things that I wanted to change with Steam already happened. So I mentioned, Steam is really easy to work with, and that's true. When I first started doing it, if I wanted to update my game, I had to upload the version to an FTP and email my contact to push the release out, which was really cumbersome. But now you can do things like you can set a new build of your game live just for testing purposes and have do that rather than before it was just here you go, they set it live, whenever they get around to it. And it was just really, really hard to kind of manage it. But now you can do it all your own. So they fixed sort of a lot of things that were troublesome earlier on.
And you can also run your betas on Steam, which is really powerful.
Yeah, I think on the whole, I don't know how many people have released on iOS and Google Play, but I think in comparison to those app stores, I would say Steam's probably actually got the edge on it for sort of sophistication and what you can actually do as a developer off your own back. Certainly the updating process is 10 times easier than Apple.
Yeah, it's been pretty trouble-free for us on the tech side, and it's got a nice process for getting your game live. It's a checklist, basically. It's really simple. Do this, you need these graphics, these sizes, that type of thing. All of that's pretty painless.
I think I had a little bit of trouble setting it up initially for the build. I thought it was kind of cumbersome. I know updating things is easy and using an API is great. When you first start up, you have to watch this terrible video, and it's confusing the first time you update it. It's kind of a little overwhelming. I thought that the build was, I thought they could have streamlined the initial onloading personally. Also, there's problems with if you don't set up the cloud save, I forget what they called it. You can have problems where you do an update and then everybody's saved data gets destroyed. That happens quite a bit to people. So I would definitely talk to some people that have run into the problems or have, had a few updates so they can tell you about, how to set those things up so you don't run into that problem.
By cloud save, you mean it saves in the clouds, and then when it keeps it from their update on their local machine being wiped by the new update?
Yeah, like
so then it syncs back down?
Yeah, like if you have unlocks and stuff in your game, they don't tell you exactly that you need to set that up, but the next time you do an update, everybody will lose all their unlocks. So you need to make sure all that's set up.
Yeah, I would recommend using the cloud save thing. Our save system has been one of our biggest headaches because we had our own save system that saves locally and everything, and we've moved to this cloud saves. It's a lot better. It's a lot less tracking on your end or worrying about, for example, when you do the Mac version, where does it save that data locally versus the PC, which is a lot different, and whether or not you have some hard-coded strings in your code that want a specific location and all that stuff. Try to move away from that and go to the cloud save.
Okay, so with cloud save, when you do that, can you do everything with just all the saving in their API? Like 100% of your saves in the API? That way you never do anything on your own end?
I don't want to tell you anything on the tech side on that because I don't know, but maybe one of these days.
Yeah, okay, so that means you can use their API fully for saving. That's nice.
Even if it's not on Steam?
Well, I know. I understand.
Humble. You probably have to have your own setup if you're going to be.
Right, but I mean, it'd be easy to switch between the two, like on one end. But that way, I don't have to worry about stuff for Steam,
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, you sort of need your own system anyway, because people can disable cloud save, right? So, and then yeah, if you have like a DRM free or anything off Steam, you need that too. So definitely cannot rely on it 100%.
That's what I was asking. So their API is just cloud saved. It's not saving in the whole system of. Again, I never looked into the system. Like, can it does. You know what I'm saying? Like, does it have a save system for you to save it on the local machine and the cloud, and it does syncing, or is it only do the cloud save?
Well, no, yeah, you can disable cloud save in Steam as like a user. You can say I don't want to do that, and then it'll just save in your like account.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the point is, Steam Cloud is if you have multiple machines and use your account in multiple things, you can get your save data synced. But you can disable that if you don't want that as a user.
Yeah. Okay, so don't rely on it. Yeah. Okay, you're saying don't rely on Steam. That do go ahead and do your own.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be good to do that. Yeah.
Itch.io. By comparison to Steam, have any of you guys stepped into like Itch.io or Real Games or any sites that you found to be uniquely beneficial by comparison to Steam in any way?
Have you Itch.io?
Yeah, Good Old Games is pretty good. It's a very different vibe there because it's DRM free, and it's just it's a very different crowd, and so they kind of attract new people that they may not go to Steam. So like you're saying, I mean sometimes people are like I don't want the Steam account, I don't want to do that, right? So that's a good site. I like that one.
My experience with Itch.io is they want everything to be free. The users.
Most users want everything.
And so unless you're purposely setting something aside and trying to say this is to move to Steam, they're not going to play. They want free games with Itch.io. That's my experience.
Other questions? I have a question for you guys. We spoke about bundles and like the event sales, but what about midweek sales or irregular timing sales? Have you guys have any experience with increased engagement on those days?
Yeah, sales period help your sales.
No.
As weird as that sounds.
Yeah, one thing too, right? When you're on sale, I mean, assuming there's not so many games on sale that they can't show them all, but usually you get a nice billing, right? So even if you're on sale for like a day or whatever, right? Then you get, normally, if you're off the front page, people have to find you through, whatever, arcane systems are going to do to find your game. But if you're on the front page, even if it's like a 24-hour sale, the visibility is great.
Speaking on visibility, is there any? Have you reached out to the curators?
Not a lot. Like a lot of them reach out to me. I'll get emails from some of them, want to do various activities, engagement and stuff. So I do that, when it comes up, but I don't tend to like actively pursue it as much. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, personally, and I don't really like it. So, but when people respond, like if they contact me, usually I'll try to do something with them. But
How do you feel about giving away keys to do like Let's Plays or little YouTube channels, reaching out? Is that stuff helpful, or is that just nobody's asking that?
yeah, usually I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, like, you give away one key, and if they have, even if it's a small channel, I mean, a lot of people will probably view it, and you get some good exposure. And I mean, in the long run, I mean, how much is a key worth in the long run if they can buy it later in a bundle for 25 cents? You know what I mean? So it's like you have unlimited keys, you get as many as you want from Steam. So like, yeah, you want to be careful with them, but on the other hand, like you also want to use them as a resource. And sometimes, yeah, giving it to people who will promote your game and play it, especially if they run like a channel that does, they play the kind of games and tend to like what you have. If it's a channel that only does like FPSs and you have like a strategy game, and and you expect them to not like it, that may not go as well. But typically, I mean, if they run a channel or whatever, YouTube, that does the kind of games that you have, and they're going to get it out there, I feel that, yeah, kind of leveraging your infinite supply of Steam keys for that purpose can be very good.
Okay. I know, Ryan, you had kind of a weird experience with Let's Play stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to add any fuel to the fire. I mean, I like Let's Plays are constantly on in our house. So, like, I would be totally hypocritical if I said no Let's Plays for my game, but for everybody else. So I just think that there's a matter of encouraging people that will respect the developers, because some of them are journalists, and you give them a key because they're journalists, and you don't, and then some of them are enthusiasts, and they're purely enthusiasts. And so the way that they treat the games that they play is probably worth looking at, and so when it tended to be towards the enthusiast side, we were probably less generous with the keys. When it was more towards the journalist side, then if they asked for it, then we typically gave one. I think that full Let's Plays for games like ours are like, it's arguable whether that's good or not.
Right.
I don't think it's arguable. I think you got screwed.
It's hard to say, and I think what it comes down to is like you said, like, are you really doing it for culture impact or not? And if we're really doing it for culture impact, then we should be willing to let it impact the culture. And right now, the culture is in YouTube. And they are consuming hours and hours of content. And so I think that we've seen that. It's just amazing to see the people that have watched and engaged with. I mean, it's in the millions, and like you can only hope for that kind of reach for the kind of stuff that you make, especially if it's important to you and if you want the gospel to go forth. So it's like, it hurts, yes. When you have a small studio and you're trying to keep cash flow and you're trying to keep people employed and your family's fed, but from a cultural standpoint, I can't argue that it didn't have a profound effect on video game culture. So that's a good thing. So
We had a question over here.
Would you guys mind going around and say your name, your company, and your website, just so we have it on the record?
My name is Ryan Vandendyck. The company is Eden Industries. The website is edenindustries.ca. Canadian, so yeah.
I'm Ryan Green, and our company is Numinous Games, and you can find the first title at dragoncancer.com.
My name is John Collins with Kaio Interactive. Our website is ki-games.com. We release Leave the Nest.
James Parkman with Kingdom Games, kingdomgames.com. We release 5 Guardians of David, 5guardiansofdavid.com, or on Steam.
My name is Laurene Wells. My company is Heaven's Blessings Tiny Zoo. Our company's website is tinyzoo.com. Our game is Visions, and you can find it at visionsgame.com.
Chris Skaggs, Soma Games. G Prime is out there. It will be on Steam shortly. It's on Xbox now. And it's gprimegame.com.
Alexander Troung now is the moderator for this panel. Thank you for coming. Is there any more questions? Is there any comments you guys wanted to make in closing?
I'll touch on a few of these things again in my postmortem for 5 tomorrow.